I think it's just simply we are not alone. And a U.S. president stepping to the microphone and making that clear for the entire human population, it just would have so many huge consequences.
And it's your belief, I think, and many others, that the reason this really hasn't happened is because it would scare people.
No.
No?
I think there's a lot of reasons. Like, we go into a lot of reasons in the film, but those reasons have sort of changed over time. I think originally it was simply, if you put yourself in the shoes of military and intelligence officials in the 40s and you realize this is real, you got to find out a lot of answers to your own questions before you make it known, right? And then I think they found out that this was happening in adversarial nations too. And then it became like a Cold War dynamic of, we got to keep this secret because we don't want our enemies to know what we know and don't know. And one of the ways they kept it secret is they created the stigma around this topic. That's revealed in my film. One of the senior CIA officials in my film says that elements of the intelligence community, including the CIA, created the stigma around this early on, late 40s, early 50s, to get people thinking it's crazy if you look into this. It's a kind of a genius way to get people to avoid, asking questions, right, and looking into it. And then that gets into the culture and it gets compounded over the years. Then the stigma gets created. Then the stigma became a reason for people not to want to speak up about it because no one wanted their reputation ruined.
But would there not be panic?
I think at one point people early on, I think in the 40s and 50s, there was a general feeling amongst military and intelligence people that knew about this that we need to learn a lot more about this before we tell the world there's a situation that we don't know anything about and we can't protect you from and cause panic, right? But I think it's naive to think that in 2026 people are going to be jumping out of buildings if they find out of that we're not alone in the universe.
Not jumping out of buildings, but I can't imagine a lot of rednecks wouldn't be like, we got to kill these motherfuckers now while we got them in our sights, while we got we got the muscle, we got the armaments, we got everything we need. We got to kill these people. I can't believe there wouldn't be that faction in America.
Look, there'll be
all over the world.
There'll be a lot of mixed responses, but ultimately, the reality of it is, one of the big learnings from making this film is that we are in a race with adversarial nations, most notably China, to crack this technology. And we have a better chance of winning that race.
What technology?
UAP technology, the technology at play. So the film reveals that...
You mean reverse engineering their craft?
Yeah, so the film reveals that...
Do we have their craft?
Yeah, so a number of the intelligence officials in the film reveal that there's a deeply hidden crash retrieval program in the U.S. There's also one in Russia, China. Some of them have crashed.
So they're not perfect.
Yeah, and we've retrieved some of that technology.
They're aliens. They're not fucking gods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the fact.
Yeah, I mean, they're dealing with
because
technology.
I've heard people say, well, if they're so advanced, how come they keep crashing their vehicles? Well, I don't think they keep crashing their vehicles. I think,
Well, all technology has some kind of, either flaw or vulnerability, right? And so one of the things that people in my film talk about is in the early days of our atomic weapons program, we realized an unintended consequence of testing was it could cause some of these UAP that we didn't know were there to crash. So there's been all these learnings over time of what could cause these things to crash.
I'm sure there is one reason why they have been monitoring us for so long is because they don't know about this planet and they're finding out, they're gathering information.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know if you...
Or they've been here long before us.
Or they have been here long before us. But if it's the reverse, if they're just discovering us and we're alarmed because they got the little beep on their phone that said, no, they went nuclear, okay, we're going to get down there and see what's going on. I mean, like in War of the Worlds, which is what I go by, that's my Bible. No, I'm kidding. Because when has Scientology ever led us astray scientifically? But, that is sort of that is the Scientology. I mean, I could see why Tom Cruise was attracted to do that movie, other than the fact that it's an awesome movie and Spielberg directed it. But it is about because I think in Scientology they believe that stuff was buried underground and then came up, and that's what happens in War of the Worlds. But as you remember in War of the Worlds, there's no real ending to it. the aliens are totally kicking our ass, and then they just die. And Morgan Freeman does the voiceover, and everyone is like, okay. But
That's also what happens at the end of Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones' Crystal Skull. They find the UFO that was buried underneath the pyramid. Rises up at the end of the movie.
And dies?
No, it just rises. It comes.
Okay.
Rises up.
Because at War of the Worlds, they just die because they got a virus.
Yeah.
So it's really COVID. If they had just worn the masks, I'm always saying to everybody, let's go back to wearing masks. I'm kidding, of course.
But like going back to the thing that concerned everyone I interviewed was that if we as a nation don't take this more seriously and make it a real national priority, then we could wake up one day and find out that China beat us in this race and the consequences could be huge.
So what does that mean? China would be allied with the
No. So
aliens?
So a number of the officials in the film reveal that our country and Russia and China all have these hidden programs that are retrieving crashed UAP and trying to reverse engineer them. And it's a technology race. They refer to it as the Manhattan Project on steroids. And so the idea is, here we have this stigma that originally was created to keep people from looking into this. And now it's kind of backfiring, and that we're in a technology race now. And the majority of scientists in our country don't even know this is real. They don't know it's a valid area of inquiry.
Well, that you get to something that I found so fascinating in the movie, which is the idea that a lot of what we know about all of this phenomenon is compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Like the CIA knows this, and the Energy Department knows this, and the Defense Department knows this, and they don't necessarily share the information. Yeah. And we gotta, to me, this is a little like the Epstein files, except not underage girls, little green men. Okay. Like, we want the files out. We want you to collate all the files, because we saw with the Epstein thing, it was a shit show. It came out drip by drab. Some of it was real. Then suddenly we got 1 million more. And,
honestly,
I feel like that's what's going on with this, except, again, not underage girls, little green men. And if we could just get all these agencies to share, because you are all on the same team, guys. We're all in the American government. Share, and then because that has to happen, I think, before they release it to the people.
Yeah, but honestly, the better analogy is the 9/11 situation. The intelligence community wasn't sharing information in the most effective way, and there was intelligence gaps. And then this horrible intelligence failure happened, and this attack happened, and we all dealt with the consequences. And then what happened after that? Everyone said, "Oh, this has to be course corrected." So we formed the Director of National Intelligence position as an answer to that, right? And their sole job is to coordinate the intelligence community so information is actually shared, right?
All we did was create a giant, new, ridiculously large, unobservable in many ways bureaucracy.